Welcome back to another episode of the Co-Courtside podcast. We are live here at NBA Summer League at the Thomas and Mack Center. Drew, thank you so much for taking the time today, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man, you got it, Alex. Thanks for having me on. Let me get my headset wire behind me. Let me look like I know what I'm doing with this broadcast.
I'm even worse than you. I got the across the chest move over here, but so they got you working a lot here. Double headers. I've been seeing you at the court a lot.
Yeah, it's a grind, man. I mean, most people go to Vegas and they don't work at all. But this week has been mostly work.
Yeah.
Some sleep deprivation for sure, some dehydration, but mostly fun. It's been a good time out here.
I think the cool thing about Summer League too, it's not just for players. Like you're getting extra reps.
Yeah.
Newer reps are getting looked at like a tryout for them. I'm walking the concourse, meeting a bunch of people. It's a really unique week and different from a lot of other things, right?
I love it, dude. I think Warren and Albert deserve a ton of credit for what they built here because I think the goal was to make this feel like the epicenter of the basketball universe for a couple of weeks in the dead of summer in the hottest place probably in the country. And they've achieved that, there's no doubt. So a lot of credit goes to those guys, and I think also to the people who take it seriously. We call some games, and you can just tell that the teams don't take it as seriously as who they're playing. So when we get a group like the Raptors, for example, they take these games seriously. Mm-hmm. They sit down and guard, and they want to win. Right. The Kings we're about to call, they're the same way. So I give a lot of credit to those teams for making it, worthwhile, not only for them but for everybody around the games.
And you live for this stuff, right? You're a workhorse. Anytime you get a call some games in July, you'll do it, right?
Absolutely. This is one of my favorite weeks of the year. It's my third time doing it. I feel like I kind of have a sense of how to do it, like where to walk into the arena, which, by the way, there's only one entrance as far as I can tell. So, I know stuff like that now, which is nice.
Speaking of getting a sense for things, you're about to enter your third year as the play-by-play guy for the Celtics. I mean, I know you probably get it a lot, but, dude, you're the goddamn play-by-play guy for the Celtics before 30. How often do you pinch yourself and you're like, this is my job?
Yeah, all the time. I'm extremely grateful. I'm super lucky. I still don't know how it happened. People ask me, like, how'd you get that job? And I'll just make something up like bribery or blackmail, something like that. It is unbelievable. It's a little strange because it's my dream job. And I don't know how many people are fortunate enough to have their dream job, the one they want to do for the next 40, 50 years, the rest of their career, in their 20s. And I started with the Celtics when I was 26, and it's such a blessing. For my money, it's the best franchise in the NBA, maybe the best franchise in sports. I mean, people in LA might not agree with that, but I love working with that. I didn't grow up in Boston, but I bleed green now, so that is so awesome. And I've always wanted to be the voice of a team because, and by the way, I'll never call myself the voice of the Celtics because a couple guys have laid claim to that already, Johnny Most, Mike Gorman. But just to be able to call the games on the local show, it's a different level of relationship with the fan, as opposed to out here, you're kind of parachuting in and, you might call one or two of the same team's games. But then after that, you're kind of off. With the Celtics, like, I actually get to know fans a lot. Like, I have a bunch of their contacts in my phone, and for them to let us into their living room, 2-3 nights a week during the winter in Boston is like really special, and it's something I don't take for granted. So it's a huge responsibility, but it's a huge blessing. And
with those Boston fans, you have to be on your stuff. They'll call you out quick.
No doubt,
right?
dude. Especially like they see a young guy who's not from there roll in. It's like they want to quiz me. So I've been reading a lot, like reading up on the history, thankfully, for Bill Simmons. I have no choice but to listen to Boston Celtics analysis, ever since I've been listening to him. But it's an amazing job, and I hope I don't blow it.
And you could be as prepared as possible, but you talked about Mike Gorman a little bit. He's the voice of the Celtics for over 4 decades.
Yeah.
Did you feel any pressure there at first? You had to emulate him and, fill up to his shoes?
Yeah, no doubt. First of all, Mike has been awesome. Mike and his wife, Terry, who, helped found the WNBA, worked for the Big East for a long time and is still very active in the industry. Mike and Terry have been incredibly supportive of me, telling me to be myself. That's what everybody says, and I have a lot of amazing mentors who I talked to and leaned on before taking over the job because I did feel a lot of pressure. I put a ton of pressure on myself. I felt like it was the first time, even though I'd been at ESPN for a couple of years before, it was the first time I felt like real scrutiny for the job I was doing. And I struggled with that at the start because Mike and I split up the schedule where he was doing the home games, I was doing the road games until we played Miami in the first round. Then he took those road games, which I appreciate. And I understand and respect that for sure for the OG. But I was trying to do this weird like tightrope act where, since we were alternating games, I didn't want to make it too jarring for the fan, and Mike and I have very different styles. So I was almost doing like a quasi-Gorman impression while also trying to be myself, and also it's my first year full-time in the NBA, so, there are 5 plays a game where I'm like, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Whereas Mike's more seasoned, and he's seen send it in Jerome, he's seen championships with the Celtics, he's watched Larry Bird. So like he has a better feel for, you know, what's worth getting really excited about and what's not. So it took me a while to figure that out, and I did battle with that during my first season. Fast forward to the second season, and I think it was a lot better. I was a lot more comfortable.
Right.
Brian Scalabrine deserves a ton of credit for that. Our folks behind the scenes, Paul Lucy's our producer, Jim Edmonds our director. Everybody works on that show. Of course, Abby, our sideline reporter. They've done a really good job of making me feel comfortable in the role.
Yeah, you bring up Brian Scalabrine. People talk about the
I shouldn't have. That was a mistake.
How important it is to have that relationship with your partner. I mean, he's an outgoing guy. It's probably
He is? I think he's very reserved, actually.
He's reserved. No filter. You can go on and on with him, but that was probably an easy fit, right?
For whatever reason, Alex, we just hit it off from the jump. Like, we met 3 minutes before we auditioned together. We were in a podcast studio in Needham, where our station is, and we were calling Game 6 of the playoffs, the second round against the Sixers in 2023. A game the Celtics won, and then Tatum had 50 in Game 7 the next one.
I remember that.
But we were auditioning. We were doing it live, and for whatever reason, we just hit it off right off the bat. And I think Scal was a big ally and proponent for me in the whole process. Because to be honest with you, dude, I'd never expected to get the job. Like, I figured I'd throw my hat in the ring, and they're going to hire someone who's famous or from Boston or probably both. And I just got really lucky, and I'm so grateful for Kevin Miller and everyone at NBC Sports Boston for taking that chance on me, and of course this whole Celtics organization. And now I get to work with Scal all the time, which is 95% good. Yeah.
Well, you say like with Scal, it was kind of just spur of the moment. You did one thing and you hit it off. I feel like that's normal now. Like you just can't force it, right? The connection is just there.
Well, it all comes down to like even though I'm new to the job still, and I've moved a bunch of places. Like I've lived in Alabama. That was my first job. I lived in Connecticut when I got to ESPN. And I felt like a fish out of water multiple times throughout the course of my career, like had that imposter syndrome. What I go back to is if you treat people the right way and work really hard, you could fit in on Mars. So I think that has helped a lot, is maintaining that mindset. And people respect that, and it takes time to build relationships, but we've had a really good chemistry from the start with the entire crew.
I want to ask you this. In your time as a broadcaster, what's like one common theme that you see in other successful broadcasters? Not even just on air, like do they have a sense of humor? Are they able to talk to people well? What?
Yeah, I think sense of humor is a big thing.
Yeah.
I think about when you go on the air, you want to do two things, which is teach somebody something and put a smile on somebody's face. Mm-hmm. And if the story or the moment calls for it, make someone feel something if you're telling a story that requires it. But to me, it's got to be entertainment, and it's got to be information. It's infotainment, right? So I think a sense of humor is key, but being prepared to me is the most important thing. Mm-hmm. Because let's just be honest, dude. Like, I tapped out in middle school basketball. That was the best. That was the best I did. My credibility comes from really preparing and knowing, watching tape, really knowing the rosters and the teams that I'm talking about. That allows me to set it up for Scal from working with him, or Sean Farnham out here, Tom Crean. And that to me is the most important thing. And it's not just knowing the nuts and bolts. It's not just knowing that Devin Carter is 6'2" and his dad played in the league for 13 years. It's having that prep, because that gives you confidence and comfort going in. You just know, like if you call games and you're under prepped, you know it, you feel it, and you're not comfortable at all. Mm-hmm. But when you're super prepped, you're dialed in, you don't have to be looking at your chart or the media guide all the time. You can just go out there and react to what you see, and that's where the magic happens.
Let me ask you this. You just said you just got done talking to the Kings coach. They're about to play a 12:30 game. What's something that you just found out now from that?
Well, we talked with Depeche Mystery, their coach, and I learned that their identity is they want to get open threes, layups, and free throws in the first 16 seconds of the shot clock. We talked about Devin Carter and what he does most importantly, and that's establishing an identity, and how Devin Carter is going to bring that to the big club as well. So we talked with Depeche for 5-10 minutes. That's kind of how it is in Summer League. It's fast. You just got to move through. But he gave us some good stuff, and he's an impressive guy, and they're an impressive team. And I think at this point of Summer League, like teams are trying to win the championship. Yeah. So he told us that they don't look at the scoreboard. They're not trying to win for point differential. I actually find that hard to believe. I think if the game, if they're winning in the fourth quarter and they got a chance to run it up, I think they will, because score differential is critical. And if you're at this point, you start 3-0, you might as well try to win the thing.
Do you still get butterflies before you go on air?
A little bit, sometimes. I mean, when I'm on 4 hours of sleep and 3 cups of coffee, yes. But it's good, and I feel like if you don't have any nerves at all, then you probably should be doing something else.
That's why I like doing this. Even, we talked a couple of days before this, but I was nervous leading up to this, and I think that's a good thing. You put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And
right.
it'll work out in the long run.
Yeah.
But Drew, thank you so much for taking the time today, man. I really appreciate
You
it.
got it, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
Nice to see you.
good luck with everything.
Thanks, bro.
Appreciate it.